Hi, ladies. I'm super excited to share with you on February some great information I've been learning really about this whole journey that we're all kind of taking together. We're all learning together as we go through perimenopause and then that transition to many menopause and then ideally to postmenopause. And one of the things that I've really been learning is most of our doctors that try to help us, and I do feel like most people, most of our healthcare, they're trying their best. They just don't know what they don't know. And when they're shown levels of what our hormones should be in quote unquote perimenopause and postmenopause, they're showing us or telling us levels that I would say are therapeutic. And I want you to understand that there are two levels, and doctors primarily want us to get to a therapeutic level, but what I'm learning is that there is an optimal level. And what that means is therapeutic could mean, okay, it's taking care of some of our side effects that we're getting from perimenopause, whether it's some hot flashes or maybe some brain fog or whatever, but we're still having some other issues where optimal ranges are where we feel like we did in our late 30s or when we really felt good in our skin and we felt like when we wanted to lose weight, we could do it. When we wanted to put on muscle, we could do it. And when we were just also mood wise, there wasn't quite so many mood swings
Mm.
and or just kind of being stuck in a funk. Because I know in this period of my life, I have never dealt with depression in my entire life. And over the last couple of years now, of course, we're all getting to ages where we start possibly losing parents. I know I lost my dad, a couple years ago, and that threw me for an absolute loop. It took me down just a not a path, but it took me just sadness I had never felt before. And so um, I've just been, of course, just like all of us, we all start dealing with things that we never did when we were younger, as we reach this age. And then as we continue to get older, we're going to be getting to a place where we're going to be taking care of our parents and that's going to add a whole nother level of stress and whatever. So I feel like right now is this beautiful time in our lives where we have to focus on us. We have to focus on us feeling good and getting to that optimal level so that way we can continue to travel and do all the things that we worked so hard our whole lives to get to. I mean, we work our whole life to retire. And then if we feel like crap when we retire, what good is that? I have patients that I see, during the day and they tell me they worked their whole life and then they started to fall apart because they never really took care of themselves and then they didn't get to enjoy the part of their life that they were supposed to be enjoying, and it's so sad. And I think that's another reason why it really helps me focus on like, no, this is about you, Nikki. This is your time to be uh selfish and take care of yourself, because your self-care is going to mean every single person in your life is going to be taken care of as well, because you're going to have a full cup to work from, and now you'll be able to pour into other cups because as we all know, you can't pour from an empty cup. And so I just want to say, first of all, how thankful I am that you are putting this time and energy into taking care of yourself. And I'm hoping with a couple little things I can teach you tonight, it'll help you know how to talk to your doctor, what to ask for, what kind of things to say, and things like that. So what I'd like to show you is I have created, and did I just X out of it? Oh, I might have. Hold on, ladies. Okay, no, it's still here. Okay, let me share my screen. And I am going to put a link, so do not worry. I'm going to put a link into um, your actually I might put a link in the Well, no, because anybody that's not live won't see it. I am going to put a link into our chat in the app that will give you access to this document. So that way you'll be able to print this out and take it with you. Let me get out of this. Okay, so here's what I called it, the menopause blood work. And this is your labs with your optimal levels. So this is exactly what I was talking about. Like there are things for optimal levels, and then there are, the therapeutic. I just left it on here with the optimal levels. And then I also gave you a reason as to why you would want these at this optimal level. Like, for example, if you can get your estradiol, sorry, to anywhere between 80 and 150, and usually actually 80 to 100, it's going to give you energy. It'll help with bone health. It also helps if you decide to use some peptides down the road. It actually makes peptides more effective and it allows your body to utilize them better. And so that's one of the reasons. So I just wanted to explain how this looks, what your blood panel should look like optimally. And this was something I learned too, and I thought this was great advice. So I'm going to tell you girls too. When you are working on getting your levels to these optimum levels, you need to be asking for these blood tests every 3 months. You can't be waiting 6 months to a year to see what your body is doing with those supplements and or hormones and or whatever you're taking. So the real and this is being very proactive because you're not going to get a nurse practitioner or a doctor that's usually going to say, I know mine specifically was like, oh no, we'll test every 6 months. Well, every 6 months is good when you feel stable, and then if you are ever in that stable time and you start to feel out of whack, that's when you can ask for, another blood test again as well. And one thing I have learned, because I do not have great like insurance through like a corporate company, if you do, you can a lot of times tell Quest or LabQuest, excuse me, that you're private pay and they will give you a really good rate on your blood work. And I even, at the end of this handout, I want to show you, I even wrote exactly how to request this lab from your doc. So you need to say, hi, I need comprehensive labs for menopause optimization. I want full sex hormones, so E2, progesterone, total and free testosterone, SHBG, complete thyroid, meaning you want TSH, free T3, T4, RT3, and or that's reverse T3, and then your antibodies. You want a full iron panel. And this is interesting. My iron was in the garbage. And I learned that a lot of that was causing so many of the other effects I was feeling. And so she tells you what to, or I'm telling you on here what to ask, like the ferritin. You want to make sure you get your serum iron, your TIBC, your saturation, transferrin. You want a full metabolic panel, fasting insulin, HbA1cs, lipids, etc. And then the different vitamins. And that's what you want to ask for in a blood draw. Um, and then really start tracking it in some sort of an app or a spreadsheet, or if you can keep your app, labs where you can look at them. But it really will help if you get them side by side. So like maybe take this document and just start writing like a date on it and say, okay, on this date I was here with my estradiol, progesterone, total testosterone, my free testosterone, my SHBG, like you can write it on here even and keep track for a little while until if you didn't want to make a spreadsheet or whatever. But once you have these labs in a really good stable place, then you can move more towards um, a six every 6 months or so. And like I said, and then the only other time you'd ever have to do it anytime sooner than that is if you had an adverse reaction. And I know we've actually talked about hormones a couple times. Some of you I've talked to individually, others we've just kind of talked about it generally. But I know that one of you that I've talked to individually, we've talked about um, the pellet, which can be okay, but there are people, and I have learned this, that are called super absorbers, and they do like suck up whatever is being given to them because they're either so depleted that the body can't take it in a slower form. They just suck it all up to as fast as possible. So you'll get a really good result, or you'll get like an almost like an overdose because your body's sucking it up so much and they don't know how to handle it. And then it doesn't last that full 3 months that uh, um, uh, pellet is supposed to last. So I did want you to know that I did do a little bit of research on pellets for that reason. If you end up getting yourself to a place where you feel like you're absorbing it at a nice equal rate through your 3 months, that would be, of course, even more ideal. Um, but then you also might have to think maybe this isn't the best method for me to get my hormones in a pellet if I'm a super absorber, because now it's going to continually every month just either hyper absorb too much in the beginning and give me nothing at the end. And so that's completely up to you, and that is what I do love about learning about all this is putting the power back in your guys' hands. We need the power back in our hands, really, to control our health, and really to understand how we're feeling, because we know better than anybody how we feel. And so you want to make sure your thyroid is being tested. You want to make sure your iron is being tested, and then of course your metabolism, your metabolic numbers, and then your specifically these nutrients are going to be the most important for how you're feeling overall with menopause and stuff. And then the other thing I created for you guys is just this quick little menopause optimization companion checklist. And this is, do you know your current estrogen and testosterone levels? And this is another is interesting thing I wanted to share. If, if, so progesterone is really unique to the person. If you have a uterus, chances are you're probably going to need some progesterone. But if you're a woman that's had a hysterectomy and you've had your uterus removed, you don't have to have progesterone given to you, because when you take estrogen, the effect, so progesterone in our normal cycle is what helps us shed the lining of our uterus. So if we don't have one, estrogen can't do that in a uterus that's non-existent. Now, progesterone also tends to help with sleep, some anxiety stuff, and some other things besides just the uterine lining shed. So if you're not sleeping, then maybe taking some progesterone is a good idea for you. But one thing I have learned is that when you get your estrogen and testosterone at the optimal levels, a lot of times your body will actually start making progesterone and you don't need to supplement it. So that's another reason why we want to test our blood. And do we need to test, 4 times a year forever? No, probably for a year though, as we're testing ourselves and kind of figuring it out, we might need to do 4 blood tests in 1 year. Is that a little excessive? I don't know. Do we really want to know what our baseline is and go from here? Absolutely. I feel like I am going to make that one of my missions this year, because that was the first time I ever really heard that. So I know I am getting ready to get all my blood work done, and I am going to go every 3 months until I really feel like I am optimizing my bioidenticals. I'm because I used to think, okay, she gave me 2 clicks of estrogen and 2 clicks of progesterone, but I'm actually feeling pretty good with 1 click. Why would I do two? And now I'm realizing I'm feeling pretty good. Well, why wouldn't I want to feel better? And I'm not saying 4 clicks is going to make me feel great, but I do need to kind of figure out what did she give me 2 clicks so my estrogen gets to 50? Like, or did she give me 2 clicks so my estrogen is in hopefully going to get to 80 to 100? So we need to see what our body is doing and if we can get to those numbers because the more I'm understanding, like I've heard some amazing things with women, not even I've been even hearing things that are debunking the myth that now taking estrogen even later in life, like even in your late 70s, you can still regrow bone. And that is exciting. It
Mhm.
also, we're learning too that estrogen for older women are helping neuroprotectively, helping the brain to decrease the amount of dementia. So there's some great information out there, and I'm excited. I like my mom, who's in her late 70s. I just told her, you know what, this might be really beneficial for you to get started on because she's got osteopenia and she still deals with hot flashes. She's been postmenopausal for 30 years and she gets hot flashes. She's been having hot flashes since her early 40s and she's 78. I mean, that is insane. So I don't want that to be me. And that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I don't want, why if we don't have to? And if we're not seeing any adverse effects from taking, low doses of this for longer periods of time, why not? So I really just want you to think about a couple things. Yes, do we want to look at numbers? But yes, we also want to think about how we're feeling. So you always, as a woman, you know your body. And I also want you to be open to the thought that could my body feel even better than I expect it to feel? So that's where I'm at because I just thought, well, you know what? I'm doing what she's asking. I am feeling better. But dang, could I actually feel better? Let's try that this year. So my goal this year is really to get my hormones optimized so that way I'm also not wasting money when I am taking supplements and or
Mhm.
even my peptides because that's money that's just going to go down the drain if everything isn't really optimized. So that being said, I'm going to also send over this little companion checklist to you guys as well. There's also, I'm actually going to create an entire little um, section in the resources section of your app. So if you guys have not checked out the resource section of your app, I just want to encourage you to go in there because there's probably enough stuff in there that would keep you busy for quite a bit of time. If you go into my coach, okay, so go into your app. Oh, you know what? My background shows blurry, so I'm sorry if it's doing that right now. And you click on the little smiley face where it says profile. The first thing that pops up is resources. And that resource section, I have already pre-uploaded all sorts of stuff. I've got resources in there. I have that steer self-coaching exercise. I have monthly guides in there. I have a power word workshop. I'm also going to now be uploading all these checklists, your lab checklist here to ask your doctor like what to do. And then I wanted to show you guys this really fun, and it looks like I might have closed out of it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Yep, here we go. Oh, let me see if I can. Okay. So I have access to um this AI that's and I'm trying to figure out honestly how to create an AI bot that I could potentially have for you guys to utilize that's been trained in like a more holistic approach to perimenopause and menopause. And so, because we're not going to have a second live call this month, what I wanted to share with you is I have access to this AI where this woman has uploaded over 80 or 100 hours of her teaching everything she's ever learned about menopause and perimenopause. And so if you have questions, I am going to have you submit them, and then I will ask the AI for you, and then I am going to post them in our chat, like on a I can even if I get 7 questions for 7 mornings, I'll say, okay, here's our daily AI question, and here's the answer. But like learning that, like I asked, can women in their late 70s benefit from hormones if they've never been given them? And then, oh my gosh, yes, women in the late 70s can absolutely benefit, even starting fresh. Age ain't a barrier. Health status is. I've seen 78-year-olds light up with energy, bone density jumps, brain fog gone. It's life changing when it's done right. And so she makes sure, like she tells you, there's no contraindications. You start with like a micro estradiol patch. And this is where you need to get back to doing your blood work again, checking to see, are you getting yourself up to 80 to 100, and then use progesterone if you have a uterus, of course. And then talking about how that helps with bone and heart, and it helps with brain and mood. And knowing if you've got a family risk of dementia, this might be amazing for you just to know that that's also a side benefit of taking estriol, even later into life, is it helps protect the brain. But I can even ask questions about your specific lab results, anything that you'd want to know, I can ask, and then I will post it in here for you guys to all learn from. So that was just going to be my little bonus for you this month since we aren't going to have a chance to do a live call. And I'll have to double check the calendar and I'll keep everybody abreast of the course that my husband and I are taking is it's either 4 or 6 Wednesdays in a row. So my thought was I'll do one live call at the beginning of this month, answer questions throughout the whole second half of the month, and then um, do another live call next month, but pick a different night considering they're both on the same. I don't want to go a full month without doing a call. So but in the meantime, if you have questions about anything, ask me and I will get them to you so you can understand and learn. I think the biggest thing we have to understand too is like when we look at our blood work, are we seeing um, you know, are we seeing hold on, let me stop share here a second. Um, okay. Can everybody see my screen or can they see me now? Can you see me? Okay, perfect. Um, is, and I just lost my train of thought. Thank you to not having enough estrogen in my system. On cue. Thank you very much, Braver.
Case in
Oh,
point.
oh my good Lord, right? Again, this is me not in my optimal state. So, ladies, I will be working towards getting to my optimal state. So I won't be having these brain moments of forgetfulness. But I mean, like some days, as you probably can relate to, I cannot remember the word I'm trying to get. And I'm like, the word is like right there on the tip of my tongue, and I can't think of it. But anyways, I just want you guys to have these resources. I thought these were so powerful to have these optimized lab numbers just so you have something to work towards. And then, of course, as you're working with your healthcare provider, I'm also going to be putting together, just so you guys know, a list of telehealth providers that are experts in. This is one of the things I've learned. You have to ask or Google search um, practitioners who are peptide and bioidentical hormone educated. And that is very few and far between. Sarasota actually did have one office, but again, it's all private pay. And the one in Venice that was offered was a $500 a month membership. And I was like, oh, Lordy. So I do feel like that's extreme. I feel like we could definitely find somebody who can advocate for our hormones less than that. And that didn't even include any of your hormones at the lab. So I was like, no, that's insane. So, I do feel like there's got to be other options out there. So I will keep looking and I would like to compile a list of, telehealth and or some doctors in this area that might be able to work with us as women and say, "Hey, yes, I will help you get your hormones in check, but I also want to look at your inflammation levels. Are you chronically inflamed? What's going on?" Because if inflammation is a huge cause of you putting on fat, then maybe that's why your body isn't releasing fat, and so then maybe you can do a couple other things. And one of the other things I learned too was when the woman that was sharing with me some of this stuff that's been taking peptides and hormones now for over 10 years, she had to get her inflammation under control, but the way she was able to do it was to her hormones were such out of whack that while she was working on getting her hormones in control, she was taking low doses of a fat burning slash muscle building peptide, and that started helping change her body composition and lose some fat, build some muscle. And then that helped bring down her overall inflammation, which then helped her body absorb her hormones better and then absorb everything else better too. So, chicken before the egg, we don't know. Maybe we have to try a couple different things. And I've had a couple people say to me, "Hey, I've tried some peptides and they just don't work." Well, maybe it's because your hormone levels haven't gotten to where they need to be, and we need to get your hormone levels there first, and then all of a sudden peptides, like fat loss peptides, will start working for you. Or it might be the other way around. In my case, it was the other way around. I needed to get the peptides first, got all the extra body fat off me. And then I feel like because of that, I don't need as much hormones in order. Now, I might be wrong. Like I said, I don't think I have my hormones at an optimal level. So once I get that under control too, or under like in a good place, then I'll let you guys know too. But overall, I want to kind of keep it pretty simple. I just wanted to give you guys your labs, your optimal labs. I'm going to upload those right now for everyone. So you will have those as soon as we hang up. And then I'm going to stop recording because I'm going to do a Q&A with anybody that's here on live, but I'm not going to record that. So I am going to stop recording, which, okay, here we go. All right.